The Cincinnati Bengals lost in an ugly fashion in their season opener against the Baltimore Ravens, and now for the first time since 2013, they're 0-1. You'd be hard-pressed to find bright spots in a shutout loss at home against a divisional rival, but there's always the young uns. The Bengals kept 7 of their 11 draft picks from this year's draft, and they activated 5 of them along with 2 undrafted players as well. Let's break down their debuts in this week's Rookie Report. Active: Joe Mixon, Jordan Willis, Carl Lawson, Ryan Glasgow, Jordan Evans, Seth and Carter Hardy. Nickerson inactive: John Ross, Josh Malone. How the Bengals would divvy up the snaps between its 3 running backs was one of the bigger questions entering this game. Mixon ended up taking 22 of them, which accounted for 36% of the offensive snap count. Whether it was planned or not going into the game, Mixon ended up with the most touches from the Bengals' 3-headed backfield with 11. He gained a total of 23 yards on those touches, and 17 of them came on these 2 plays. Outside of these 13 seconds of game time, Mixon struggled to get anything going. He finished the game with 8 carries for 9 yards on the ground, and 15 yards off 3 receptions. He was the least impressive ball carrier on paper in comparison to Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill, but all of them for the majority of the game struggled to find holes against Baltimore's opposing front. It was good to see Mixon not be shunned of an opportunity out of the gate, yet running behind Russell Bodine and TJ Johnson for most of the game while your passing game is plagued with a 1.00 adjusted net yards per attempt, not a typo, he can be forgiven this week. Jordan Willis went starting right defensive end. Michael Johnson exited the game with a stinger. Willis was forced to step up and be more than just a situational pass rusher. He wasn't very present in the Ravens' backfield, but like Mixon, his best moments came back-to-back after taking on the pulling center and failing to get outside. He loses his feet altogether and ends up on his knees. Fortunately, running back Terrence West bends back the outside zone to Willis' gap, and Willis manages to help bring him down along with Pat Sims. On the very next play, he keeps his eyes in the backfield and reads the pulling guard, then penetrating the backfield and recording the tackle for loss with the help of Vincent Ray. Carl Lawson. While Willis looked solid in run defense, Carl Lawson provided a spark in the team's pass rushing sub-package. He was the first non-starter subbed into the game on defense, and his presence was made as soon as possible. You're just not getting that from Johnson anymore. Lawson also worked in tandem with Geno Atkins for the Bengals' only sack of the game. Pro Football Focus had Lawson as the most productive edge rusher on Sunday, topping the likes of Calais Campbell and Justin Houston. Lawson finished just behind Willis with 23 snaps to Willis' 26, and both should see a potential increase in playing time if Johnson can go against Houston on Thursday. Ryan Glasgow. The first defensive tackle to sub into the game was not Andrew Billings, it was Glasgow, who gave Atkins a breather in the middle of the first drive. Glasgow's going to be the backup 3 technique this year, a role the Bengals have not filled very well of late. But Glasgow looked pretty good for his first game. He also filled in at nose tackle when Sims and Billings were off the field. In total, he played 26 snaps, which actually doubled Billings' total at 13. Jordan Evans. One of the true preseason stars for the Bengals, Evans first came on the field in base sets in the second quarter, giving Ray a quick rest every now and then at weak side linebacker. Him and Minter worked in perfect cohesion to stop this West run for no gain. Evans' snap count reached 12, and like the other rookies, he played relatively well amongst the chaos around him. Seth and Carter and Hardy. Nickerson. The 2 surprises on the initial 53-man roster were both active on Sunday, but only Nickerson recorded a snap, a single one to be exact. With John Ross possibly making his debut this Thursday and Adam Jones returning off his 1-game suspension, one of these guys may get booted off the roster. For the time being though, they're both getting ready for Houston. Coming up, the Bengals showed that they still have a lot of problems, but the newest additions didn't seem to be a part of their shortcomings. If they expect to bounce back in primetime in a couple of days against a team they've only beaten once in 9 years, relying on these guys may be more necessary than they realize. We can't expect it, but we can at least hope Ross makes his debut as well.